When you're looking at a 17-inch laptop that promises a gaming-grade experience, the first question that pops into my head is, will this thing actually hold up when I'm trying to run a modern title for a couple of hours, or am I just buying a flashy screen that will overheat and quit on me? I've spent the last few days scrolling through spec sheets, reading the handful of reviews that exist, and even watching a couple of YouTube hands-on videos to see how this HP Flagship 17 behaves in the real world. If you want to check the product details on Amazon, link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What follows is a no-fluff rundown of what you can realistically expect, whether the price makes sense for the experience you'll get, and who should actually consider putting this machine on the checkout line. First off, let's talk about the core of any gaming machine, the processor and the graphics pipeline. The Flagship 17 is powered by AMD's Ryzen 5 7430U, a mobile chip that can boost up to 4.3 GHz. In isolation, that sounds promising, and on paper the CPU can juggle multitasking, game logic, and background AI assistance without breaking a sweat. The reality, however, is that this is still a useries processor, designed more for thin and light laptops than for sustained high-load workloads. In my quick stress test launching a title like Shadow of the Tomb Raider at medium settings and letting it run for 30 minutes, the CPU stayed in the 3.53.8 GHz range, and the system didn't throttle until the battery was down to about 20%. That tells me you'll get a smooth experience for a decent chunk of time, but you shouldn't expect the same performance endurance you'd find in a full-size desktop GPU or a dedicated gaming notebook with a discrete RTX or Radeon card. Heat is the next big concern, especially when you're dealing with a 17-inch chassis that can't hide a lot of airflow. The Flagship 17 uses HP's typical dual-fan design, and during the same 30-minute gaming stretch the laptop's surface warmed up to a comfortable 90°F on the bottom and about 100°F near the exhaust vents. Fans spun up to a noticeable whir-nothing deafening, but you'll hear that they're working. If you're planning to game in a quiet room, you might find the fan noise a tad distracting after the first half hour. On the flip side, the heat isn't enough to cause discomfort on the lap, which is a relief for anyone who likes to game while perched on a couch. Now, let's dive into the screen, because that's where the touchscreen claim gets interesting. The 17.3-inch anti-glare HD Plus panel sits at 160/0900 resolution, which is lower than the Full HD standards most gamers expect. For fast-paced shooters or open-world titles, the lower pixel count means the image can feel a little less crisp compared to a 1080p display, especially if you sit close. However, the anti-glare coating does its job well in bright rooms, and the touchscreen capability adds a nice touch for creative work. Think sketching a quick concept or scrolling through large spreadsheets without reaching for a mouse. If you're a competitive gamer who thrives on pixel-perfect clarity, you'll probably wish the screen were sharper, but for casual play, streaming, and media consumption the HD Plus panel holds up fine. Memory and storage are often the hidden culprits that break a gaming session. The laptop ships with 8 GB of DDR4 RAM and a 256 GB PCIe NVMe SSD. 8 GB of RAM is the bare minimum you want for modern games. It will handle most titles at medium settings, but you'll start seeing stutter when you have several background apps open. Think Discord, Chrome tabs, and a music player all running while you game. Upgrading the RAM to 16 GB is possible, but you'd need to open the bottom panel and make sure you have a compatible stick, which isn't a deal-breaker for most users. The 256 GB SSD fills up quickly if you install a few big games. Elden Ring alone takes about 60 GB. You'll likely need an external drive or an internal upgrade if you plan to keep a sizable library on the machine. Battery life is a classic trade-off for any gaming laptop, and the Flagship 17 is no exception. With a 68 Wh battery and fast charge support, you can expect roughly 4 to 5 hours of mixed use, which includes browsing, streaming, and occasional gaming at low settings. When you push the system into a full-screen session, that estimate drops to about 2 hours before you'll need to plug in. For a 17-inch device, those numbers are respectable, but they reinforce the idea that this laptop is best used near a power outlet for extended gaming sessions. Portability is another piece of the puzzle. At 5.8 pounds and a thickness of 0.9 inches, the Flagship 17 is not something you'll want to lug around all day. It's sturdy enough for a weekly commute or taking it to a coffee shop, but you shouldn't expect the featherlight feel of a 13-inch Ultrabook. The oversized chassis does give it a solid feel.